Hello, my young readers. It's me, your little darling narrator.
And me, Tri-Angel.
And we'd like to thank you for joining us for another story time. This story is going to tie right in to Halloween.
It sure is. Now that we're in the fall season, you see all of the beautiful colors on the trees?
I do. And I just love the colors that come in during fall. They're the yellows, the greens, the oranges. It's just fantastic.
And guys, make sure you take time to go out this fall and just appreciate what fall has to offer, all of the beautiful colors that it has.
And there's something else you should take the time to do this fall is in your area, just look around and just notice the birds. Notice the different species of birds that are in your area. You're going to find probably some really beautiful birds.
I've noticed hummingbirds in my area.
That is awesome. I love hummingbirds. They're so cool. Now, I'm not going to take too much more of your time, guys. We're going to go right into the story, and I'm hoping you enjoy it. It is not a different perspective, but a continuation of the classic Three Little Pigs. So stay tuned. The name of this story is called Halloween Pigs by Rita Balducci and illustrated by Doug Cushman. The wind was whistling through Oinky's little house of straw, blowing autumn right into his kitchen. Oinky sniffed. Apples, he sighed, and corn, and maybe a hint of pumpkin. His brother Pinky shook his head. No, sweet potatoes. Winky, the third brother, inhaled deeply and closed his eyes. I love October, he sighed. The three little pigs all took another deep breath. They could almost taste the good things they smelled. Oinky's stomach grumbled. Pinky's growled. And Winky's made such loud noises, the little straw house rattled and shook. I'm hungry, Winky snorted. They were all hungry, but the big bad wolf lived nearby, and there was no telling when he might appear, huffing and puffing and making all kinds of unneighborly threats. The pigs couldn't risk a trip to the orchards and fields. So there they were, trapped in Oinky's straw house. They were so hungry they could have eaten the walls. A knock at the door made the three little pigs jump. Trick or treat, called a soft voice. It's a trick, Pinky whispered. It's the wolf. But it wasn't the wolf. Just Little Red Riding Hood with her basket. You should go trick-or-treating, she told them. You'll get lots of goodies. And if your costumes are clever enough, the wolf will never recognize you. Oinky and Pinky looked at Winky. He always made the important decisions. Winky mumbled, stroking the hair on his chinny chin. Costumes. That night, with hearts pounding and bellies rumbling, the brothers set out. But instead of round pink pigs, three hairy wolves with scraggly tails and pointed snouts emerged from the little straw house. Giggled Oinky. My costume tickles. Shh, warned Winky. I see a wolf. The wolf was tacking a sign to a tree. Halloween party at BB Wolf's den tonight. Lots of food. Oinky and Pinky didn't need to ask Winky what they should do. The three brothers headed straight for the wolf's den. Happy Halloween, bellowed their wolf host. his yellow eyes gleaming. "Come on in!" Pinky, Winky, and Oinky had never seen so many wolves in their lives. There were old wolves, young pups, thin wolves, and fat wolves, dancing wolves, chatty wolves, laughing wolves, and singing wolves. "Look," Oinky whispered to Winky and Pinky. There, in the soft glow of an enormous jack-o'-lantern, was the buffet table. Delicious smelling steam rose from the platters of food. Maybe it was the moon. Maybe it was the music. Maybe it was just pure, unbridled piggishness. But what happened next was not a pretty sight. "Soo-wee!" cried Oinky, throwing himself on the sweet potato pie. "Slurp, slurp, slurp," slurped Winky, burying his snout in the cream corn. "Oink, oink, oink," snorted Pinky, chomping on the roast beef. The table creaked and groaned under the weight of the three pigs. The band stopped playing as the wolves stared in shock at the sight before them. "Who are they?" the wolves murmured to one another. Oinky, Pinky, and Winky didn't stop until they had devoured everything in sight and licked the plates as well. Their costumes were stretched tight against their fat tummies, but still they wanted more. The wolves had just begun the dunking for apples contest when the greedy trio spied the barrel full of crisp red apples. There was a mad gleam in their piggy little eyes as they dived head first into the barrel, splashing and kicking and sputtering as they sank their teeth into every apple floating inside. When Winky dunked Pinky's head underwater in order to reach a particularly big, juicy apple, the wolves began to mutter among themselves. "How rude," they gasped. Pop! The seam down the back of Winky's pants began to split. Out sprang his curly tail, but nothing would stop him now. A row of banana cream pies was laid out invitingly on another table, ready for the pie-eating contest. Oinky bounded across the floor, all his chinny chin-chins jiggling. He landed on one end of the table, and the pies flew through the air like frisbees. Winky and Pinky leaped into the air to catch them in their mouths. "Who invited them?" the wolves huffed to one another. Oinky's belly burst through his costume, but he scarcely noticed. His snout twitched and his mouth began to water. The jack-o'-lanterns was still glowing on the ransacked buffet table. The three little pigs weren't finished yet. Seeds flew as Oinky, Winky, and Pinky attacked the pumpkin. Gooey shreds of orange pumpkin pulp stuck to their fur as they feasted on the remains of the jack-o'-lantern. "Disgusting!" cried the aghast wolves. Plink! The last few stitches around Pinky's porky middle gave way. His costume was hanging on by mere threads. Finally, there was no more food in sight. The pigs licked their fingers and smacked their lips. "Great party," said Oinky, slapping a startled wolf on the back. Agreed Winky, picking his teeth. "What do you say we do this again next Halloween?" asked Pinky, a greedy gleam in his piggy little eyes. The wolves recoiled in horror at the suggestion. "I have an idea," cried one wolf, anxious to get away from the three strange guests. Let's all go trick-or-treating. Yes, yes, chimed the other wolves, frantically rushing for the door. Let's go. Hey, good thinking, the brothers agreed as they waddled along to catch up. We could use some dessert. A full moon shone on a clearing in the woods. A hush fell over the wolves as they gathered in a circle and looked up. What's the matter with them? Oinky said impatiently to Winky. I thought we were going trick-or-treating. It's a full moon, one exasperated wolf explained. You must know what that means. But the brothers just shrugged. Time for a midnight snack? Asked Oinky, his voice full of hope. The wolves ignored him. Then, in unison, they began to howl at the moon. What a strange thing to do, the brothers exclaimed. They could be eating instead of howling. But the pigs didn't want the wolves to figure out who they really were. So they went along with the chorus. Ow! Ow! The wolves howled. Oink! Oink, 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 oink! The brothers bellowed at the top of their lungs. The wolves exchanged suspicious frowns, but continued howling. The song got louder and louder. The wolves and pigs all took one last deep breath for the grand finale and went the three pigs, went their costumes. The pigs' disguises all tore apart at that exact moment. There they were, three succulent, fattened little porkers surrounded by hungry wolves. Suddenly, a deep voice shouted, Trick or treat! It's the huntsman! Run for your lives! Yelped the wolves. And with great huffing and puffing, they were gone. Oinky, Winky, and Pinky hiccuped in relief as the huntsman pulled back his cap to show that he was really Little Red Riding Hood. Are you all right? She asked her friends as they pounced on her basket of goodies. We just need a little refreshment after our terrible ordeal, Oinky mumbled through a mouthful of chocolate. And once the candy in Little Red Riding Hood's basket was gone, the three little pigs ran wee, wee, wee all the way home. Well, that ends our story.
It sure does.
And how did you like it, Try?
The story was great, but those rude little pigs I did not like.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. They do leave a bad taste in your mouth.
I know, right? They couldn't even thank Little Red Riding Hood right without snatching her basket of goodies and eating all her candy. And, you got to think about it. She probably went trick-or-treating, and that was probably her treats that they just scarfed up and went wee, wee, wee on their merry little way.
Try, you sound a little miffed with them.
That's because I am. I really don't like rude people. When they put on those costumes and went to the party, they should have been on their best behavior, but because they had those costumes on, it gave them this false sense of courage.
And I get your point because if you are pigs and you go to a party that's being given by, say, your top number one super predator, you would be a little less annoying and get all the eats you can and break out.
I'll tell you what they weren't. They were not smart. And I'll tell you what they were. They were greedy.
Okay, Try. Need I remind you that these are just fictional characters? They do not exist in real life. Calm down.
Oh, I know. It's just that when I see blatant rudeness, it just gets my blood boiling. But like you say, I need to calm down, and I think what I'm going to do is get a nice session of meditation. So I will see you in the next episode. Bye!
Well, there goes Triangel, and she was really not happy with those little pigs. And I can't say I blame her, because there were times in the story that I did find myself being very annoyed with them. But again, these are just characters, so don't let yourself get that upset. But I will tell you, it does give you a really good idea of rudeness. So whenever you're out and just anywhere, always have your manners on. Turn on your manners at all times when you go out, okay? So until next time, my young readers, I am your little darling narrator. Out.